Welcome to the teardown of a Toyota EB60. This is Mr. Clark. First step is to remove the concentric release cylinder. These are new units from Toyota, so they come shipped with a brand new concentric. We'll take the line loose on the side, and then we'll take the 3 fasteners loose that hold the concentric to the front of the transaxle. At this point, we're going to remove the reverse idler shaft lock bolt. It's identified above the drain plug, and this holds the reverse idler shaft in place. These transaxles come with a locking pin that holds the number 2 shift lever in place. The number 2 shift lever is used to select between the different rails. The 1-2 synchronizer rail, the 3-4 synchronizer rail, and the 5-6 synchronizer rail. The number 1 shift lever is used to engage and disengage the synchronizers. A 10mm socket, 10mm hex socket, will remove the compression spring and ball for the shift and select rails. There are 2 of them, one on the top by the number 2 and one in the back by the number 1 shift lever. Next, we will remove the 2 detents, ball and spring, on the rear of the transaxle case. Make sure you pay attention to the spring tension for each of the detents because they are different from one another. The operation of shift lever 1 is going to be an important piece to remember when we go back to reassemble it. There is an E-clip that holds the shift lever up. When we go to reestablish the case or reinstall the case, it's going to be important that we are able to put the shift lever in the correct position in order to engage the shift shafts internally. Using a 6mm hex socket, we will remove the remaining detent and spring assembly in the back. Here we are removing the 17 fasteners that will hold the 2 case halves together. I also like to make sure that I compare the length of the fasteners to make sure that they're not short or longer, because that would indicate that there is a specific location for each fastener, and if you were to put one that were too long, it is possible to do some serious damage to the transaxle. So we want to make sure we check the lengths of our fastener when we're done. According to the directions, we want to carefully make sure that we split the cases apart without doing any damage to the sealing surfaces. On top of the input shaft, there will be a selective size washer. Please make sure you don't lose it. Also, when you go to reassemble the case, it's going to be important that it sits directly on top, lined up with the bearing, so it does not interfere with the case when you put it back on. Here's a better look at how shift lever number 1 operates. It is going to engage the shift rail inside the transaxle. Here's a view of the slot in the shift rail that number 1 shift lever will engage when properly assembled. Here is a view of shift lever number 2 and how it operates. You can see that it slides back and forth and then can select each rail independently. Here's a look at the reverse idler gear. This is a reverse idler shaft. There's a mark on the top. It is supposed to be aligned with one of the bolt holes. That way when you go to put the retaining bolt in from the outside of the case, the threads will line up. Here's a look at how the reverse shift fork and the reverse idler gear mesh together. At this point in the teardown, we are removing the 2 Allen head fasteners that will hold the reverse shift arm assembly to the transaxle. Next, we need to remove the set bolt for the shift lever, inner shift lever. This goes onto shift lever number 2. At last, the fun part, where we get to remove both the input and output shaft, including the 3 shift rails, as an assembly.